So,
I'll call the meeting to order, I guess.
Sure.
Everybody all right with that?
Sure. Is Doreen coming tonight?
We get a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting?
Did I make a motion, we accept them as printed?
Second.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Nicely done, folks. That was on May 20th, right?
Yep.
So that's done.
So is the 20th and the other there's two meetings.
There was two meetings?
Wasn't
Yeah, the
there,
20th.
Previous meeting from that, so
April
Yeah.
22nd?
can we encompass that into that as well?
Yep.
All right, everybody all right with that?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you.
Aye, Captain. Yeah.
All right.
No, that, no. Yeah.
John, you want to talk about the review and discuss the MBTA survey results, or do we want to?
Sure. Enclosed in your package, you have the MBTA survey results. The thing that I like about the survey results is we had 431 people respond, so that's considered a pretty good sample set.
Yep.
Of those that responded, 87% were actually from the town of Grafton.
Wow.
The key takeaways were that you have about 42% of the people who took the survey are taking the MBTA, which I would call daily.
Yep.
We defined it as over 15 days. Conversely, you have 42% that are taking it less than 5 days a month. So that basically tells you the consistency. Most of the people who are taking the MBTA are taking it to work. And 87% of the people taking the MBTA, the train, are from Grafton. Okay. When it comes to the congestion points during the commute to and from the station are down by Post Office Pub, in that section there.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that was conveyed was getting out of the Grafton parking lot can be
On
difficult.
Pine Street, yeah.
Yeah, so that could be difficult. So, those are the big things. And then the other thing is when we talk about services that they would like around the train station for development, the number one was a cafe, bakery, or coffee shop, followed by a convenience store. People would like to see more bike paths and walking trails around the train stations. And also, social gathering spot, seems like a fancy way of saying a bar or restaurant. And the ATM also scored pretty high. The thing that I found most interesting is when we asked people about residential development. 29 of the people said yes, 71% of the people said no. But if you think about it, they're already living in Grafton, so they're unlikely to use that housing.
Right.
But when they said, you asked them what type of housing they would like to see developed, 61% wanted to see housing that was not a single-family home, meaning it was either apartments, condos, or townhouses. And I think that reflects the fact that even for people who grew up in the town, some people are having trouble affording it and staying in the town. And if they could buy a condo or a townhouse,
There's no doubt about that.
as well as people, older people who want to stay in the town may not need quite the space. And for us to come up with that type of strong response for people that already live in the town, I can only imagine what the demand would truly be for that type of housing.
Sounds like they're in need of a food truck over there
Used to have one.
during the commute time. They used to have one?
Yeah, one of those trucks. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Probably chased them out.
No, I don't think it was,
Did the MBTA chase them out? Maybe.
no, I don't think it was feasible for them, economically
It
feasible.
went downhill. I had, next to my house is the place where they used to go load up in the morning. And when I bought the house in 2002, and they moved in around, gosh, '05 or '06, and it was whatever you called, maybe, I almost called it a canteen. but-
Canteen truck,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So
Roach
they-
coach.
Roach coach.
They'd go there to get their whatever they got in the morning.
Yeah.
And so there's probably at that, when they started, about 30 trucks. at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, dwindled down to about 2 or 3 at the end.
Really?
And just because they just don't, either, I guess, construction wasn't, I don't see many of them around. I don't know if maybe they went somewhere else to load up, but
The Worcester T&G just did an article on it this past weekend. They interviewed a guy that's retiring after doing this for so many years. And he talked about that, and he said a lot of it is, number one, the main base was manufacturing, which of course has been decimated in Worcester. And even though some has come back, nowhere near enough to bring back 30 or 40 trucks.
right,
He said the other thing is, there's Dunkin' on every corner, there's, in
Right.
Worcester, there's a couple of Starbucks, we got a Starbucks in Westboro, so there's too much competition. Look at Cumbies.
yeah, yeah.
Where did all those people that are now in Cumbies at 6 o'clock in the morning used to go?
Right.
So the competition from other outlets has made it much more difficult to run
Yeah.
that type of a truck.
And Cummings is a bit of a loss leader. I mean, you can get coffee for $1.
Right.
You get pizza slices for $1. I mean, you can actually get a lunch for like $5.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, and be fed. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so it's funny you'd say that. They just did this article. It's very interesting. What I find interesting is that if you look at those housing results, 40% want condos or townhouses, and only 22% want apartments. I
Right.
think that's interesting, because number one, the perceived density is lower, especially for townhouses versus apartments. But townhouses and condos are assumed to be more highly owned versus rented.
Right.
And so I just found that an interesting statistic.
Now, John, are we gonna offer this up on our site at all, do you think, or?
I'm in the process of putting, posting on our Facebook.
Perfect.
So the other point I wanted to mention about the survey is it was clearly conveyed that parking is an issue at the Grafton train station. The later you go, the more difficulty there is getting parking. And even if there's minor snowstorms, we're losing a percentage of those parking spots because of snow.
Right.
Challenges we have is the MBTA's the MBTA's willingness to invest in acquiring land for the parking.
We had an overflow lot back when they first put it in, and it peaked right before the big crash.
Right.
It was always full, and you had to go to overflow, and weren't they running a shuttle? I think they actually ran a little shuttle during the peak hours from the overflow lot, which was just up the road, to the station.
And those are some of the ideas that we've discussed internally of how to address that issue.
So,
Maybe Grafton needs to build a parking garage.
Well, the problem is the cost. It's very expensive to acquire the land and to build the parking spots. And then if you're charging $3, $5 a day, how long does it take you to get back that investment?
Yeah, no, you have to look at the investment part of it.
yeah, the thing is to encourage kiss and drops. There's an awful, there's an awful lot of kiss and drop.
term.
Kiss
That's what it's
drop.
called, kiss and drop.
We called it a different thing in my day, but good to me.
I've always known it as kiss and drop. Because there are some towns like Framingham that have even less parking than we do. Because it was done back in the day when most people either walked to the station or
Right.
were dropped off.
Yep.
Westboro doesn't have that much parking either.
Yeah,
They got the,
They have more than we do, but that's, again, it's full, just like ours is, very, very full.
people are talking about expanding across the street.
There's
Okay.
actually people that walk there several times in the afternoon. If you go down with Smith Street or whatever it is, you'll see the people walking down to that big development down at the end of
Fountainhead.
that street. No, not Fountainhead. People might walk to Fountainhead, that's a bit,
Oh, that's a
bit of a
bit
hike, but
far.
this is a different one. This is, I think it's.
Oh, you mean from
Fountainhead.
Westboro, they're walking to
Yeah, in
Fountain.
Westboro.
Toll
Yeah,
Brothers
yeah.
development.
Yeah, that
Oh,
one.
yes, yep.
Yep.
Any other comments on the survey?
For Grafton, I know it would be a bit of a hike with the biopark over there. Would it be possible to pave an area over there, an undeveloped spot, and maybe offer that up as a parking
The
site?
frontage, like right, that lawn where right when you turn in, like that
Something.
front area.
Whatever, yeah, something that's not being used,
well, one of the concepts that we like, and I'm jumping well ahead of ourselves, is if there's development in that area, they request whatever development's done to have some additional spots that could be used for commuter parking.
Right,
The
so,
MBTA is the end result, or what, they're the entity that is getting the parking fee, right?
Yes, they're the owner of
They
the
own the
lot.
lot,
Yes.
okay. I gotta believe that, how much a day that, if they're running out of space, well, they're gonna be doing all right with that. No?
Especially with the electronics now.
Yeah, I mean, they just.
The
they
guy
don't
runs
have
around
anybody
with a little
collecting
camera,
anymore,
yeah, he runs around with a camera, scans the license plate and takes off.
Yeah, but the
Okay,
cost of land is a lot. I mean, they're probably,
I don't know the economics of the MBTA and their parking or anything like that. So it'd be difficult for me to really comment.
Yeah, no,
You know what they charge?
$4 a day.
yeah, I thought it was, $4.
And there's no, to the best of my knowledge, there's no discount for monthly. You get a slight discount on the actual ticket if you buy a monthly pass, but there's no
Once a
discount
day,
for
it's pretty
parking.
cheap. It's pretty cheap.
is there an opportunity to talk to Tufts about some of the land that's on the other side?
Well, I
Good
think that the issue of the MBTA survey helped us quantify the extent of the problem. So now it's really looking at a number of options, and as we evaluate those options, figuring out which one's the best. It isn't like we could just wave a
Right.
wand and solve the
Right.
problem. We're looking at everything from a shuttle to the Grafter bus system, to having development around the train station and requesting they build additional spots for parking.
Grafton Elder bus.
So we're looking at options, but no decisions have been made.
something on the idea of a TIF with a future developer, only using parking as the TIF.
That's a concept.
Hey, so if we do, if and when we do get someone in that area close enough, as you just said, if they make their parking lot bigger, but then, obviously it's land restrictions, but, the land restriction, and then, I was thinking for a second, like when it's a restaurant, but it wouldn't be a restaurant, it would be maybe a hotel or something to that effect. They have to have X number of spots per rooms, so they might be locked in on that too,
Right.
so, I mean, we can ask, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Look at it, mate. You guys want the AC on in here?
yeah, that'd be nice.
Sure.
No,
Oh.
it'll expedite the meeting if you don't turn it on.
Oh, geez.
Not too bad.
It's fine.
All right, so any other thoughts or comments with regards to the survey for the MBTA train station?
No, we thought it was great.
Nice job,
Now that
John.
we have Tim here, do we want to go right into the hotel feasibility study
Sure.
review? That makes sense?
Whatever Tim wanted to talk about.
No, I just wanted to be here as a resource. John's been doing awesome for us.
I agree.
You guys are
Yeah, I agree.
accommodating, him, and I think we're working together on some good planning, some good program, good promotional stuff, and keeping the dialogue open and keeping people at the table.
Yep.
The hotel thing, I think, is gonna be a great opportunity for us to have a conversation with both WBDC and the greater hotel community, if you will. So it was a worthwhile endeavor. We did have long conversations with Wyman Gordon about their 29 acres out front, and I've shared with the board, select board a couple times relative to that redevelopment piece. That's where we actually thought the hotel might be better situated because of the proximity to the Mass Pike. But this study came back and said that, the piece that we originally identified before we knew Wyman Gordon was in play, behind the MBTA parking lot, would work and work very nicely. So that's, it proved the hypothesis that we could have a sustainable hotel in Grafton that won't be a burden, but a $10 million project for the community. So I think that's a big deal and good for us all to get an 80-room facility. Of course, there's no one thing on that corridor that's gonna work without everything else. I need UPS, I need the Alfonso development, we need the 8 Pine Street development that we're closing on with the state of Massachusetts. So all those things have to happen for it to work. And all those things are in play, and all those things are what we work on every day. So the 8 Pine Street's probably the most robust right now, because we've been talking about it. Joe's been presenting at different mass development type programs, talking about the MassWorks grant in conjunction with the 8 Pine Street, and there is a lot of, if you've been in Shrewsbury and you've been to the old Spags location, that housing development back there was done by Continental. They came in to see me the other day. And they did that residential development. They came to see us before we even gone out to bid for the 8 Pine Street, and they are interested in,
What is 8
I'm
Pine
sorry,
Street?
yeah, is that the
Yeah, I
state
don't know, there's-
hospital?
8 Pine Street's the state hospital, right over the
Well,
bridge on
that's-
the right.
Okay.
The one that's all closed off.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about 8 acres that's being sectioned off for a mixed-use development. It'll be about, can hold under the bylaw, I think, 200 units for either rental or sales, condos, with, complementary business use on the bottom. So, I
Like
figure
convenience store,
three-story building, maybe 4, but the bottom will be
coffee shop.
commercial space.
Yeah.
Right.
When the feasibility study was put out, did this company realize that there may be an opportunity for the Wyman Gordon Hotel, and would that affect the economics of putting it out?
Well, two things. One is the town is acquiring the land for mass development. That hasn't happened yet. Once the town acquires the land from mass development, the town will issue what we call a request for proposal. So what we've had happen is some people have heard that this is coming about and that they're trying to get a race on the competition, and they've come in and talked to us and trying to size the town up and explore what type of things could be done with it.
I'm talking about the hotel spot.
That's a totally different project.
Right, okay, but
She wants to
my
stay on that
question
topic.
is,
So,
can
Wyman
we,
Gordon, we talked
Yeah.
to this group about Wyman Gordon as a location for a hotel. They think that's fine, but they think that the initial site that we had in mind works. Ultimately, it's
can
gonna come
Grafton
down.
support 2 hotels, I guess?
No.
No.
Okay,
Probably,
so, is
depending
one
on what
gonna?
you build
Yeah.
at Wyman Gordon. If you built a lifestyle center like they have in Dedham, yes. But if you don't have all those amenities, probably not. So, but a developer, whether it's Comfort Inn Suites or whether it's Hilton, they're gonna know the community has this zoned in these 2 parcels, and they'll pick where they think they're gonna get their 80% return, and they'll pick that site. So, it could be Wyman Gordon, but right now we think, because their study focuses map-wise on the parcel at
Right.
the MBTA station, because that's where the hotbed of activity is further along, from the science park, Tufts University, the train station,
Right.
UPS, 8 Pine, Alfonso. Those 7 things make it look like that's gonna be the place to go.
Where's Afonso off of Weston Street?
Institute and Route 30,
Was it like 40 lots or something?
I think it's, say, 50 housing units, and then the front, we rezoned it to be mixed-use 40R, and there's rental components,
When
and then
they
there's
started?
commercial use up front.
Are they approved, fully approved?
They're fully approved for the subdivision, and since the zone has been changed, they can do all that stuff as of right.
So they're gonna be starting fairly soon?
They gotta do, we got the grant for the sewer line. The sewer line
Right.
is going out to bid in August.
Okay.
Alfonso has to build the pump station for us, because he's gotta get out to that sewer line.
Yep.
So he's already marked the road and dropped equipment there, so he
Gotcha,
wants to
okay.
put his pump station in. We go out to bid, we'll tie into that pump station, and everybody along that corridor can now tie in, which is gonna lead to more development, because you won't have the restrictions of the septic
There's
systems.
gas there too, isn't there?
Is every utility you can imagine. And 17 kilovolt line just went right up that street.
Okay.
So if you sat in that traffic, I apologize, but
And you know,
It's in the- it's in the
Anzio's is leaving us too.
we're trying to find a spot for Anzio's, so
Northborough Crossing,
they're going to Northborough Crossing.
August or September.
In the old coal-fired place?
Sushi place?
Oh, up on the hill?
I think.
That's worse. I don't know, it's so far away.
It's not Grafton.
Well, that's why it's worse, so, you
I
know,
know,
we're trying to
like-
keep them here, but
Oh.
I needed Afonso to be quicker, but I couldn't do it without the grant, because I don't have storage, so somebody else will come, it's not.
Right, right.
Do we know the price range of Afonso stuff? Did they get into that yet?
No, we told them, because we made a deal with them relative to the sewer hookup fees, that the Board of Sewer Commissioners would reduce, because we don't want to pay prevailing wage to put that pump station in, so we reduced their hookup fees to some maximum amount. And we also told them that we would consider a TIF, even though it's subject to approval of town meeting, subject to approval of the TIF committee, subject to approval of Board of Selectmen. So we just told them we were willing to entertain it, depending on how much they're investing in the commercial component. And since they can't tell me that, I can't give them any other more detail, except for my commitment to ask the community to support a TIF.
Gotcha.
They know that if they don't get a TIF, it's not because we lied to them, it's because we just didn't
Right.
get it through town meeting.
Is there anything you need from us as an EDC to, I don't know. My concern is that this hotel study is great and that if we can move forward to have something in that area, but then if Wyman Gordon land comes up and is that gonna, what's best for the town? I mean, I don't know, maybe just,
Well, I mean, one's.
I don't wanna say don't do Wyman Gordon because I think that's an excellent location and the town's gonna need the tax revenue from the rooms and all that, but, you know, what is it that's gonna help move this along so that somebody can actually come in and do something there?
In terms of, physical support from the EDC, I think just speaking intelligently about the options that businesses have and supporting, the economy's gonna drive where this thing gets built, right? We're really not gonna drive it. They're gonna pick one of those sites because it's gonna make them more money. So we just have to be
What needs to
supportive
happen
of
for the
whichever
site
one.
out in the Route 30 corridor? What has to happen out there for the, you just did it briefly and I just wanna make sure.
Well, it's a 9-acre site. and
Yeah.
We know that 80 rooms will fit on 2 acres.
But do we
nicely.
have that, is that our land or is it
No,
part
it's
of?
WBDC, Worcester Business Development
yeah.
Corporation, and we're gonna visit with them, I think, Tuesday at 3 o'clock. 29, so a week away. So.
And
we're
how
gonna
long does
ta-
it take usually to transact land?
Well, they're more, we did the UPS deal with them. They had to transfer a parcel to Tony Russell and then to UPS, or vice versa, I forget. Tony was involved, and then I think they did a direct transfer. So they're an independent group. They can move fairly quickly to get rid of property.
What's their name
I
again?
think it's
Mr.
the
what?
22nd, not the 29th.
Worcester Business Development Corporation.
WBDC.
So Craig Blaze, he's been before this committee a long time ago. Karen Polito's husband's on the executive board of directors, so there's a lot of synergy around Shrewsbury and Grafton for that to be developed.
And then, let's say it's favorable, and that would become the town of Grafton, then what are the next steps for, you go out to RFP to have somebody build a hotel, or is there a whole,
WBDC will
on our behalf?
sell it to a developer.
Okay,
We would be out of it. We did the legwork. The reason why we did it, maybe we should back up. The reason why we did this whole study is because you can't really have a meaningful conversation with a hotel chain unless you have a feasibility study.
right.
So we did the feasibility study so we could walk in the door and say, look at these numbers. You got 4 years till you can recoup your money, and then it's just pure cash. And once we have that conversation, they'll say, oh yeah, we'll look at your analysis, make sure you ran it right, and then they'll decide if that site, A, is cost appropriate, and what's it cost to build, and we know those numbers. And if they want to come up with $10 million to build an 80-room hotel, and they think they can get it back in 3 years, they'll do it.
Okay, they'll do it, they take the ball and run with it, so we don't
Yeah,
have to do it, okay.
Yeah, no, it's not, I think we were the catalyst to do the study.
Okay,
And they'll, from an economic standpoint, they'll decide if it's gonna be of interest to them. Now, will they ask us for a TIF or something like that to
Right.
invest that $10 million? They may, but I don't even know who I'm talking to yet, so
right, okay,
I need to wait.
Just in general, one of the ways the town helps and encourages development is ensures that there's proper zoning, ensures there's proper infrastructure, and really helps facilitate or move things forward. In this particular case, it was the hotel feasibility study. Sometimes it's other types of analysis that need to be done, but by presenting the information, we're helping the private sector do their job.
Yeah, I mean, the site is slopey, there's allegedly some ledge there, there'll be some cost to build a hotel there, but they took their best guess for general conditions for excavation and for building, and they came up with 10 million, so will it be more? It could be, but I don't know. We need to
Yeah.
wait and see if WBDC, for whatever reason, I don't want to speak ill of them because I want them to take this and run with it and market it for this purpose. But they really should have done this, you know what I mean? They should have been the ones driving that bus to sell that last piece of property on that Centennial Boulevard. But we did it, and if that helps them along and helps us get a $10 million development, that's good.
And it's walkable to the T. Is it on the other side of the lab?
It's adjacent to the T.
It's
Yeah,
adjacent?
it goes up at the last parking row that faces
Yep,
east,
it's right there, wow.
so right there, so it goes up. So there'll have to be some terraced parking, it'll be an interesting
How would
site.
they access the land through the,
Through Centec, go by IDEX, take a left, and you go
Okay.
right into it.
gotcha.
So
Alright,
Pine left,
great.
or Pine right if you're coming from 20.
So hypothetically, could there be parking
That's-
share?
That's one of the things that we're looking at.
Okay.
But again, you and I having a conversation when neither one of us is putting up the $10 million.
Right, but it's right there in that
But-
vicinity where you,
Right, but it's definitely a concept that we've already discussed internally.
okay, well,
Um,
now you're talking about externally, so thank you.
Yeah, no, there definitely needs to be some discussion, because the MBTA lot is at capacity,
All right,
so.
so just, great.
Tim, did you happen to see the Worcester Business Journal today with regards to Shrewsbury looking to advance development of Centec North site?
I saw it, I don't know if I saw it in the Business Journal, I don't know, did I forward it to you? I read it, was it today, really today? Because I just read it.
I got it in my email today.
All right. Yeah, the UMass site on the left as you go
Right
up the
across the
hill.
street
Yeah, they've had it for a
from 20.
while, they did a feasibility study, but I don't know if I read really a lot of the details of how it's gonna shake out.
Okay. But I don't think, it sounds like both towns aren't done south of that, I guess if it would be north and,
Yeah, well, Fortune Boulevard, where Alltech, not Alltech, what is the name? Yeah, Alltech, right? Is that on the right? I think that's in that plaza where
Right.
they have the Columbia Gas training facility.
Exactly.
They're building one more piece up there now.
okay.
And I think that's the only one they have left, but I don't know. So they have south and they have north in terms of Centec,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any word or progress with regards to when or if UPS will start to move?
No, I had Joe call last week and they don't have it slated for a time frame to pull permits or,
Do you want us to call?
if it'll help, yeah. Chase down those brown trucks.
Keep ordering stuff.
Yeah, it's a,
Go shopping.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or anything that you want to share with us, Tim?
What do we want to ask him while he's here?
Yeah, I mean, other than, I've given you a lot of information about 7 sites in, less than
Oh,
90 seconds, so,
can I ask you a question?
sure.
The property, that white barn up by Cumberland Farms, up by the common, I think you were gonna put in for a grant.
We got the grant.
Did you get the
yeah,
grant for the
we got a-
whole
we got an
DPW
announcement
site?
Yesterday, yeah, the whole, it's shaped like a key, right, because it goes around the house and it goes around the,
If you actually turn to the last page of your packet, there's
I
a
was gonna
press
say, we have
release.
something in here.
We won a $30,000 grant from Mass Development Technical Assistance Program. And basically, it's to help the town develop the site. So we're quite excited about it. That's $30,000 that the town didn't have. And Joe Layden worked very hard to submit that grant and win it. Only 10 towns won grants out of something like 75 submitting.
Nice.
That's
So
excellent,
it's
because I
quite
tried to
a-
get something from Mass Development, and they're very difficult to work with, so tell Joe, great
you
job.
get another language. You get another language.
I want to know who your contact was.
But just, I'm a visual person, so I'll just, it's akin to the Bolac Plaza and what we did up there to change the zone. So if you think about what we're gonna do across the street from Cumberland Farms, we're doing the same thing we'll do with the visioning session, community outreach, and
Okay,
really
good.
identify what the community wants to see on that site with this grant.
Now, would you consider doing a similar survey like you did with MBTA? For
Well,
that?
this one, because of the grant, it'd be more along the lines of BOLAC, where we tried to develop a conceptual plan and get input from the community. We'd probably have meetings at the Grafton Community Barn and do more of a facilitating interaction as opposed to check a box or express an opinion. Because the belief is that if we're having a conversation, that product will develop and be improved.
Yes, but I still think a lot of people aren't able to go to meetings, and they really like their devices, and there's a way that they can have input electronically.
Okay, we'll
What do you
look
want to
at
see
doing
up
that.
in Grafton Common area? Do you want a coffee shop? All those kinds of things that they have a chance to feel like they're
Yeah, we'll
participating.
look at doing a survey for that.
I came from an event today, and one of the topics was this thing called Flash Vote. And it's, people pre-register, they do it in Sudbury. People pre-register, Sudbury had 1,200 people register. And then when they finally develop a survey question, they sent it out to the 1,200 who pre-registered, and they got the first one they did, they had 980 respondents.
That's amazing.
So it can be done, it's just, but it's verifying that, these people, like we did one today on Facebook about opening a cooling center here for the weekend, and we had 90% people wanted to open it. So 45 people responded, 40 wanted it open, but I don't know if it's the same guy clicking 40 times or not. So the flash vote will, sift through and make sure there's no
Right, because it locks you out.
collusion.
Duplication of whatever,
Illusion.
right?
Yeah, so
One
we
vote.
we could use something like that as well and see what people want to see there.
And that's just anecdotal questions you can ask.
Yeah, we gotta give them something conceptually to think
Yeah.
about and look at, especially if you're gonna transfer
We
the
could do that
land.
for town meeting. It would be,
We should maybe do that ahead of time. That way I can prepare better and we used to have quick town meetings, something got into the water recently where they're a little bit longer.
yeah.
So we gotta anticipate whatever those questions are better. But do you have any other question for me? I'm gonna go back to IT, not that I'd rather be here than IT, don't tell them that though.
No, go ahead.
Short answer, I guess, because Wyman Gordon's has been mentioned a few different times, so I am assuming that the parent company of Wyman Gordon's is looking to sell that frontage property to
Correct.
somebody.
Yep.
And to go along with what she was saying about, you're talking about developing the Bolac property and some others, then maybe, all right, so the Wyman Gordon property would be open for development of anything, not just a hotel.
Yeah, no, it's zone commercial industrial, so it can do a hotel. You can also do a shopping center, we love stop and shopping in the center of town, it's convenient. But could there be more amenities like that, like a lifestyle center? Not unlike the one up at the top of the hill, it's one road in, one road out. But this one's right off the Mass Pike. I just think that there's so much more opportunity here than there even is there.
Right.
But this is a 29-acre site. If you look at something like Dedham's Lifestyle Center
That's
at
what they call it, a lifestyle center?
They call it Legacy Place.
Legacy Place, lifestyle, it's a lifestyle center in
Oh.
terms of the terminology of the real estate. It's a lifestyle center. But if you go to Legacy Place, they have bowling, they have, restaurants, they have shopping, they have
Movie theater.
a parking garage,
Okay.
they have all kinds of stuff.
We need a better word, but, okay, but thank you for
But if you
expanding on that.
took that,
Yeah.
because again, I'm visual, I want to make sure what I'm thinking conceptually can work. We take the map at Dedham and overlay that on
Mm-hmm.
this parcel, it fits. So I think, let's show the world that this fits here.
Parcel at Wyman Gordon.
Yeah, on the 29 acres.
I
that
agree,
Wyman
yeah,
bought.
that would be,
It's 29 acres in the front there?
that's
Yeah.
a lot.
With the soccer field and all that? Wow.
Doesn't include the parking lot in the corner, right?
It's from end to end, and they have a couple small pieces they're trying to divest from.
Would there have to be a 21E down there? I would
Yeah.
assume. Has it been one yet?
It's never been touched. It's virgin land. The front of
Oh,
it's never been
okay.
touched. If they have to knock down that front building, because that building's
I
not
bet
connected.
they
If
still
you
have
never
to
been
have
back
that test.
That little.
there- No, if it's never been built on, they'll do a 21E, but find out it's never been built on.
Well, okay, they still have to do, yeah.
All,
they still have
if it was ever polluted, it all went the other direction.
Because of the slope.
It went down towards the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
So that land's gonna
Yeah.
be fine.
What about a ballpark?
Well, in 1950s, it was supposed to be the airport.
No, I was saying you could have a stadium there too, you know, if you can't get a family center. What was it? A lifestyle center?
Yeah, yeah, 29 acres,
No.
it'd be tough.
Yeah.
It'd be tough. But, so yeah, and the parent
Ballpark.
company is, we know is Warren Buffett, who bought
Oh.
Precision Casting. And when they bought it, this is an interesting story, if you ever want to come to my office, I sent a letter to Warren Buffett to say, welcome to Grafton. I figured I would go to old school on him. Right? He used to deliver newspapers. We had a local newspaper guy, Charlie Bolak. So I sent him the newspaper that Charlie that he started, and I just wrote him a nice letter about, welcome to Grafton. And a couple days later, I got a handwritten note back on my letter from him, telling me, yep, it's a good product, it's a good system. If it's not broke, don't fix it, and signed his name. And then I went crazy trying to make sure it was really him. I'm online looking for his true signature.
You want me to sell that at our shop for you?
No.
I have to add a quick story about Warren Buffett. When he was buying Jordan's furniture, the two brothers, Barry and Elliot, met with him in Boston, and he just drove himself in. This is Warren, no driver or anything. So they're like, okay, well, come out to us to the parking lot. We'll get in our car. We're going to show you the stores. They get out into the parking lot and realize they can't find their car. They don't remember where they parked.
Oh, my
So
God.
there's Barry and Elliot lost in the parking lot with the richest guy on the planet.
That's
And
great.
he still bought the company from them. I just thought that was a hilarious
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, I mean, he still lives in his house in Nebraska and
Yeah.
opens his own mail, and
Oh, I love him. I love Warren.
Wow.
I keep telling Appletree Arts, just I have his address, just mail him tickets to an event and just see, maybe, who knows, maybe he'll show up.
Never know.
Anything more about the Bolak property as far as, isn't that pending, I thought? Or, no?
No,
I heard a rumor
people
about
have
that.
standing offers allegedly, but
All right. Is the 21 anything they're trying to deal with? Is that what it is?
there's issues, I don't know the detail on it. But I hope
I
they-
heard somebody bought it for 500,000.
Yeah, that's what was down at 599, I think, was the listed
Heard what?
price.
Probably should
It was-
talk about anything that's not public.
Speculation.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh, that's true, yes. yes, yes.
Remember, we're on
I wasn't sure if
camera.
anyone knew anything, that's all.
Well, we encourage someone to buy it if they haven't already.
Quickly.
Great parcel available.
Right.
Well, thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
All right, if you come up with something else, I'm gonna go to Thrilling IT. Except I couldn't get you a cord.
Well, tell IT about Flash Vote. Flash Vote.
No, well, I'll do
Different
that
IT,
internally.
okay.
I'll take care of that.
All right.
Okay.
all right.
Bye, guys, thank you.
Thank you. Now, John, do we want to talk about the town of Grafton is planning on approaching some larger, higher-end developers
Yes.
to develop projects in Grafton?
We do.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the things is, we're really going after larger developers. We just referencing the $10 million hotel, and some of the other developments. The problem is, we come across as unprofessional and not very serious. So what we'd like to do is to get some letterhead, so that way, when we send people letters, it looks that much more professional. What we've done is we have 6 samples of letterhead, and we'd like your input into which ones you like best. I don't know if the camera can see this, but, yeah. So, you have this one here.
Yep.
With the school, the train, the gazebo, the Grafton, and our logo.
Yep.
So, slow right down.
Oh, you're going too fast. Wait a minute.
This one here is similar, but our logo, but the other pictures are in black and white.
I see changes the color. That's really the only thing that changes.
Mhm. Yeah.
And this one here, which is in kind of a different shade, which kind of has that green appearance,
Yeah.
reflecting Grafton's colors in green. So all of those featured
Go to the first.
the high school on the right. All of those featured the high school there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The other option is pretty much the same thing, but instead of
Yeah.
I think.
the high school, what we have is a picture of the
Silver Lake.
pond,
And that's in-
Which pond is this, Flint?
right behind the
Pratt's Pond.
Mexican restaurant.
Oh, okay. Lake Ribble.
Beautiful.
Right.
Avi.
So then,
Where's the swans?
so
You
the
need the
question,
swan, you need to get a
If we
picture
take a
with the
picture of the high
swans.
school on there,
what's that?
if we use a picture of the high school, honestly, the back of the high school is much prettier, more impressive than the front, if that makes any sense, like across from the field, I'm just saying.
Okay,
Think about,
well, my goal is to move this forward
Oh, that's fine,
Who-
yeah.
Those are the two options?
Oh, never mind, that's fine.
There's 6 options.
Okay.
Well,
What
6
about
options.
Tufts being on there?
We had Tufts on there, and we decided to discard that.
Who's "we"? Internally?
The initial-
Internally, right.
Okay.
I prefer the faux color.
Mm-hmm, me too.
See the hotel thing?
So my comments were,
So that was this one here,
yeah,
We didn't see that.
yeah,
right.
Right.
'Cause we thought, it didn't, when I look at something, work on something, we try and filter out the stuff.
Right.
So that way you're only presented with the best.
yeah.
Right.
My feeling on the school, at first I didn't like it much, because I think the school, I'm not crazy about that kind of architecture, though it definitely has that modern techie look. And then I was thinking, oh, I like the lake, it's prettier, you know, kind of shows that, yeah, we still have some nice open areas. And then I thought about it more and said, well, depending on who we're trying to get, for, you know, who we're approaching, that techie look is probably better. And the problem with the lake look is, depending on who we're gonna get, their first thought is, oh my God, they're into land, they're tree huggers, we're not going there. We'll never get our,
Unless
you
you're
know,
trying to attract
laboratory, you know, what, yeah, well, you know. So that was my concern, was it sends that's a great picture for homeowners,
Right.
but may not be the best picture to attract businesses.
Right.
So every town, I think, has a school, a high school. So I don't think that's anything that sets us apart from anyone else.
Well, the idea that it's fairly new and modern,
But it's a bit, okay, that's
But
fair,
that was
yes.
my thought too.
But, so you have, everybody has a school. We have historic Grafton Common. I think that's fine. I think I'd rather see as a business coming into town that you have a college, so you have you know, millennials, you have a different, what am I trying to say? It's not just youth. You have professionals,
Right,
collegiate,
The gray hairs,
the what?
the gray hairs.
Yeah.
Not a college. But you
Oh.
have a generation of folks that are professionals that are invested in the community
got the
that,
20-somethings, not the
Right.
teens.
right.
Right.
So if you're a mall that wants to come to town, or you're, you know, a coffee shop, what's the demographic? And that high school shot is not telling me anything
Well,
that sets you apart.
at first glance, does it say Grafton High School on the front of the building?
It does, but it's not legible.
You can't really
So
see it,
at first
yeah.
glance, that building could be anything.
Yes.
So I kind of agree with you. We want to go with a newer look or a more modern look, however you want to say that. And so at first glance, someone would see that, see a nice new building, and, you know, take it at face value. You know, so I agree. If we're trying to get development, you know, because like, as you had said,
Yep.
my first reaction was, well, we're showing a school, that's great if we're luring families. But then that second, after thinking about it, it just looks like a new modern building.
Maybe you put the MBTA sign.
We have the MBTA, they're right
It's on there?
in the middle, yeah, the train.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that.
I think that
All right. I mean,
the two choices that we have, look, can we kind of divide and conquer here? Can we
Yes.
agree on the style, I guess, and then we can figure out what pictures we're talking about? There's choice A, B, and C, which are all of the ones with the high school, but I personally like the clear pictures versus the green or the gray.
Right, the
This
full
right here.
color.
The full
Yeah,
color,
full
yeah,
color
I would
picture.
agree with
Yeah.
that.
agree.
Everybody kind of agree with that?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Well, if it's gonna be on letterhead,
Right.
wouldn't you just want it like a hue instead of a bright picture, no?
No.
It's gonna be full color.
I like color.
It's
Yeah.
professional, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I guess if that's, you know, an agreed upon scenario, then we can say that we want photos that are color, so we can get rid of the other 4 options.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now we need to decide between A and B, A's with the high school and B's with the lake.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep,
Because the other photos are the same.
right.
Right.
So now we're talking about lake or high school.
I'd say high school.
I would go with high school.
We can put it to a vote? Want to do that? Would that be fair?
I guess if given only the choice for those two, and not entertaining any other option, I guess the high school.
And I agree, because that particular picture of the high school definitely is generic. And no, it's unlikely that anyone's gonna look at it that closely. In other words, that says to me, high-tech building. And my first thought might be, without looking at it closely, that, oh yeah, that's a cool business. And at that point, I don't care, I'm not looking at it anymore, I'm now reading
Right.
what's on that letter, memo, whatever's being presented to me. I've lost my interest, you piqued me enough to make me look. I'm not looking at, what is that? You know, I don't care what that is.
I think,
That's
a
fine.
depiction of the town common is obviously one of our greatest assets. I think the MBTA station is one of our greatest assets. I think all the development that we've done as a town and funded, high school, fairly new schools, fire station, police station, et cetera, new library coming on board, new DPW scenario, that shows progress in the right way.
Right.
I don't know if Tufts has that same credibility. It's a great school, and it's a veterinary school. That kind of lends to more of a agricultural
The
thought
impression that we
process.
have it's not quite an Ivy League school, but
It's a college.
No,
quite
no
a
doubt about
university
it.
in town, but
Very esteemed. I'm not criticizing the school. I just don't know if that
No, but what
that
he-
particular picture
His
depicts what
point
we want to
is,
get across.
Yeah.
if people do recognize that's a school, oh, look at that town, without knowing all the details, that values education, and look how they funded their school,
Right.
okay? Because there's still a lot of towns that aren't in that situation, for a lot of reasons, and their schools, are older, look older, So, yeah, that definitely, and we funded it versus Tufts, we had nothing to do with that. Whether that looks nice or not is up to them. We don't
okay.
contribute to that in any way. We contribute to this, and that says something about the town.
Okay.
Well, you can also say, look at that town that values their open space, having a picture of the lake.
Right, but the
Yeah.
concern with that, when you're going after businesses, is they're gonna say, ooh, they're not gonna want us. I'm not going there, that it's gonna be too much hassle, they're tree
But what I'm saying
huggers,
is
they're
that-
gonna make me jump through hoops.
Maybe.
That's fine, I think all towns appreciate and support their schools. But I would just disagree and say that I would think that having Tufts on there would be a better choice, that's all.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm not gonna vote for one or the other.
But are you saying Tufts, or are you saying Tufts Biopark? The Tufts
Oh,
school
the picture that's on there
itself?
is the school,
The
picture
school.
of Tufts
School
University
sign.
School.
I didn't see the Tufts one.
Well, none of us saw it.
Right,
So that's all I'm saying, is that I think as you're trying to go out to get development to come in industry, I don't think they care if there's a high school or not. I mean, they know, there's always a high school. I just,
I question
I mean, it's-
why would they care about Tufts Veterinary School?
because that's kind of, oh, there's a college. If we had Harvard in here, they'd be like, wow, there's a university. So there's population, there's
Well,
consumers,
I see,
there's consumers.
but on that same note, okay, if
I don't
anyone,
know. Well, go ahead.
if anyone, or if people know about Worcester County, you know that you already have Tufts Veterinary School, UMass Med School, you have
WPI.
10 colleges in Worcester. So if you're thinking college, people.
No, these are, you're gonna,
people know
he's trying to
this-
go for big companies that
I
are in,
understand.
outside of New England,
I
potentially,
understand that,
so.
but I still, again,
I know, it's,
I like the building,
I had no problem with the regular letterhead, honest to God, so
well,
I think it's great that we're
Well-
picking something more professional looking. Arguing over a couple of pictures is
Well,
silly, but I just wanted my opinion out there that,
When-
if we're
when
gonna
I
spend
was-
the money, let's make sure we're spending it wisely, it's not silly at all.
When I
agree with you.
was,
I agree.
when I was helping an attorney develop her business plan, I did some reading of how to start a law practice. And one of the comments was that as an attorney, your work product is your paper. There's no better investment than high-quality paper with high-quality logos and images. So that's why it's important, because they aren't meeting us. They're judging a piece of paper.
Right.
Before they even read the paper, they're judging the paper.
right.
So that's why
Right.
it's important to have something that speaks well.
And on that note, I don't have a problem with this as a letter to someone, as a memo, so to speak. But if well, as you're saying, we're trying to make people notice, this doesn't look any different from any other town
Right.
Right.
It doesn't look any
like that.
different. And you guys, like I am, are old enough to remember when you used to submit resumes.
Yes, I was
You
gonna say
submitted
that.
on bond paper. You didn't just use the regular
Right,
paper
24
from the
pound.
printer.
Right,
Laser printer, not dot matrix.
Okay, now you do it
Exactly.
electronically, so let's get with the times.
Oh, which we
Well,
do,
but
but we're
the
remembering
point
when
is
that's
trying
what
to
I know
mattered,
that. I
emphasize-
was
know
matching
that.
envelopes.
Right, the board is trying to emphasize of how you were trying to
down
make a positive impression.
Right.
And you were doing it on the bond paper with the laser printer.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
things.
Okay, all right.
You
I
took
get it.
And you blended
All in
that
favor?
down to a lighter green. That would make a nice line. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree, I agree.
Rather than just stock pictures, you know.
Okay. So I think we,
But
well taken. I get it. So I guess, can we decide between A and B? Call A the school and B the lake? Is that all right with everybody?
sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I never have everybody be happy about things, but
And you know what? It's never in stone. We can always
It
decide on
is.
the next batch to change the picture. Not that hard.
Badge,
Well,
when?
we're trying to save
We're
the
not.
town
We're gonna
money. We're
save-
trying
yeah, this is a
to
one-time.
have something that we
Right, so-
could take forth for a couple
all
of
in
years.
favor of the school, which is number B, or letter B.
No, school you said was A.
A, I'm sorry,
A.
letter A.
All right,
Aye.
John?
I,
Okay, B, which is the lake, I guess? Okay.
I should have
There's always
abstained.
one.
The motion carries for
back.
A.
Okay.
School.
School and
So it's etched in stone. We're doing the color pictures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
But let me just
And we're
say,
going with the school.
well, let me just say, my comment was if we're doing letterhead, right? And you're gonna do it on bonded paper. If you were to take those scenes
You're gonna see it.
that are in green, well, if you were gonna if you took those scenes that are in greenish, the pictures that are in greenish, and you blended that down into a lighter green bonded paper, it would be killer. Now you're gonna put these pictures on stock white paper, it's just not gonna look the same. We're not doing a.
Oh, it'll look all
We're
right.
not doing a web page, we're doing a piece of letterhead.
So at the
Yeah.
next meeting, John will bring in letterhead samples.
Well, I'm just, that's all
No,
right.
I'm not, hey, hey,
Let me
I'm
have
I'm
my
not gonna
say.
consult you on the
Overruled,
Ivy
that's
colored
fine.
paper.
Fair enough,
You
fair
didn't-
enough.
See, I get it.
All right.
See,
so
I
we-
told you not to turn the air conditioning on.
That's 30 seconds I can't get back for you.
All right, fair enough. So we have the letterheads off the agenda, right?
Check.
So we're good with that?
Yep.
All right, let's talk about Shop Grafton.
Okay, that's this page here. We had a meeting this week. We had, I think it was very productive. We had 7 business owners come. I was told that scheduling something for Monday morning at 9 AM wasn't the best of planning, and I should have it in the evening with alcohol. So our next meeting will be August 22nd.
My answer
Yeah,
was
Carl,
alcohol's
where were
appropriate in the
you?
morning, too.
What'd you say?
So the next meeting will be August 22nd at 7 PM at the Grafton Inn. I encourage all business owners to attend.
Is that
because
6 PM? I think
7
it-
PM,
When is this and where?
August
It's on the
22nd,
bottom of the
7
page.
PM.
It's 6 PM.
Duh, okay.
7 PM.
Okay, I've got 6.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
All right,
Seven's
well, I
the-
have
Because I remember I closed at 6, and I was like, oh, I gotta run up there.
Okay, well, it's
That's why
7
they give us
now.
the paper.
We're gonna check with Jay on that.
Green, it would look really nice.
You're gonna make it
Okay.
7 now?
Okay.
At 7.
Okay.
say it again, sorry.
Because I've already publicized it at 7.
Oh, John. Well, we might be there earlier.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Happy hour,
As,
yeah,
as,
okay.
as
Okay.
Mr. Brady says, getting
All right,
everybody
so-
lubricated. Creative
All right.
thought process.
Okay, the key highlights of the meeting that we had on the 15th were trying to improve advertising. So one of the things was to include inserts into the schools, using the electronic signboards of some of the businesses in town, such as Five Star Liquors and the banks. And adding a Facebook page to Shop Grafton as well as an Instagram. During the meeting, we were gonna have some of the business owners do it, but after talking internally, because the town owns the website, the thought was that it should be done internally, which is basically me.
We may have to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the fourth thing is really conveying to people that you don't need to live in the town of Grafton to participate in Shop Grafton. One of the ideas or suggestions for improvement is that business owners can have the opportunity to contribute their own prize. So if some of the businesses want to offer a $50 gift certificate or whatever prize, they can do that. So instead of just offering 3 prizes, it could be 3 prizes by the town and an additional 10,
Right.
15, 20 from the business owners, which would increase their motivation, hopefully.
Okay.
It's a great
Right.
idea.
And then they also suggested some ways of really improving the advertising. I guess BostonCentral.com, DiscoverCentralMass.com are websites where you can go on and see local things happening in the community, and we can promote things. Also, we should give consideration to advertising on Worcester Magazine, and obviously that'll be based on price. And then we had this great suggestion, is that, and again, with the business owners proposed, may not necessarily happen, but what they did is they proposed having a movie night one day during the Christmas season, where the parents could drop the kids off and go shopping in Grafton, or go to a local restaurant. That was a good idea. The other thing is, and this is totally outside my domain and my world, is the Frosty Stops and the Crafts Fair is run by the Recreation Department.
Right.
But what some of the people had conveyed was they felt like the Crafts Fair was actually competing against the Frosty Stops. And people couldn't be at 2 places at once. So by having the Crafts Fair on a different day than the Frosty Stops would allow people to attend both events. And then to increase participation in the Crafts Fair is also to have wine tasting at the same time. And what you could even do is set up where, hey, here's the wine tasting, here's the vodka tasting, here's the scotch tasting, and have 4 or 5 different types of tasting going on with the Crafts Fair at the same time. So, yes,
The craft fair, are you talking the one in the municipal center?
yes,
That being the town building,
yes.
what would be the restriction on having alcohol served?
get a
in-
permit.
Over 21. The
Okay.
Lions Club's actually held events
We had a wine
serving
tasting
out.
for the
You-
Historical Society.
Do you have to have
The
a
move
police
part, right.
detail?
The what?
No, I
Um,
don't think so.
I don't think we need a police detail, no.
We
Not
don't-
any more so than what they do for the normal Crafts Fair.
Yeah.
So whatever they do for the Crafts Fair is what
Not
would
not
be
one
required.
specific to the fact that liquor's being served.
Okay.
It's sample sizes.
Yeah.
So I would envision craft fairs in the gymnasium,
Yep.
wine tasting in the senior center?
No, it's in the same room.
Senior center or different rooms or whatever, like this
Not
conference room,
large.
people could come. We have conference rooms elsewhere in the building.
But
so
I'm
they
just
can-
thinking, if you're gonna be, have,
Okay, logistics
and-
have to be worked out. That's,
Yeah,
this
all
is
right,
just a
okay, all
suggestion
right.
to
We're
approach.
not looking for people
All
to
right,
get
sorry.
sloshed. We're just
No.
looking to.
no, I was just thinking of the ambiance of a room that's already set up with tables and chairs, that's
Yeah.
all.
I thought
Okay.
The event for the Lions Club had for the Historical Society was great.
Yeah,
Worked out really good.
That
we
would be
rented
nice.
tables, actually.
Yeah, you rented tables and there was plenty of raffle items and
Sure.
things like that. I thought it was a great event.
Great.
Okay,
And we've already had a couple of the Grafton, well, one Grafton business has volunteered to set up the tasting.
Right.
So, but John needs to talk to the Recreation Department to see if the vendors would be, would want to move to like Saturday.
Well, no, it's the Recreations Department oversees the event.
Right.
So then they need to talk to their vendors and the things because
Didn't I
they
just
have.
say that?
I thought you said
I
that.
just said that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just
But
want
it's
to be
not
clear.
John's, it's not part of, it's part of the season, the Shop
Right.
Grafton. It's just another way to get the businesses and to suggest during the holiday season that oftentimes there's so many Frosty Stops for kids and parents to go around to, that
Right.
the crafters don't get a lot of foot traffic, and if they do, they have their kids with them, it's very hard to shop, have your kids. So we just thought maybe suggesting that we make it a whole weekend for that event, and
Do
So
it that,
that's-
you know, so the
Yeah.
Frosty stops are on Sunday, and then Saturday is the Shop Grafton Day.
The craft fair that is part of Grafton Celebrates the Holidays would be moved to Saturday
Oh,
instead of
okay.
Sunday.
Okay.
And
Makes a
then
lot
you
of
can do,
sense.
you can enhance it and have a, you know, wine tasting at the same time, so.
The goal for adding the wine taste is really to increase foot traffic.
Right.
Um, And by
And
separating it,
alleviate holiday stress.
right,
And engage the Grafton businesses. There's a couple of liquor stores in town.
Okay. Anything else that came to light that you thought was,
we had a good meeting, we're looking at.
sounded like it was a great meeting.
Yeah,
Yes.
very
Where were you?
productive.
Yeah.
I can't make it on a Monday
Okay.
morning at 9 o'clock.
It was great. I am encouraged. We had such a great dialogue with just a few of the business owners. I mean, I think in the future, it may be prudent for us to form a merchants association. Once a month you meet, you know, no dues or anything, but just a chance to get together and talk as business owners about ways that we're gonna increase getting people from outside of Grafton to make this a destination. So it was great, and our next meeting, as John mentioned, is gonna be at the Grafton Inn at 7 PM on August 22nd, so we're hoping to get a lot more folks involved. And then John and I will talk about the social media aspect in the town running it versus the merchants, because I feel like I would think that the merchants would be more willing to do it if it was not a town site.
Why would that be?
We have to get, every posting would have to be approved. And if you're having a sale at your salon, or you're having, can
Why wouldn't they-
alcohol be advertised, wine, you know, John's not, he's part-time, and keeping
Yeah,
up
but
with
why
social
couldn't they
media.
do that on their own?
We
Facebook
could, well,
page?
we decided to set this page up and Instagram, but
Yeah.
John's getting some, if you wanna explain what you're.
Let me back up a bit. I'm now becoming more knowledgeable about Facebook. And what I find is that, one, there's a limit to the number of people on Facebook you can follow. And two, when it comes to following Facebooks, the town's Facebook isn't as popular as you might hope. So when we post things, it's not getting out the way we wish. So with the Shop Grafton campaign, we have the website. So the belief is that that would pick up a stronger following easier. And that's the motivation of adding that.
Okay, so let me just explain, with a business page that's Shop Grafton, we had Edie from the Fleet Street Barber has offered to set it up. Now, what she's gonna do is she's gonna invite, Homefield Credit Union, somebody, you'll be a member, Five Star Liquors, myself, we get invited, and it's a group, and only the businesses can post to it.
Okay.
So it's managed by the businesses, not John. If I want to submit a Facebook post, it's too cumbersome. If we just want to immediately fire off something, and then it's going to get a lot more followers if all the businesses are or administrators of that page. So if we have to call it something else, like not MA, Shop Grafton MA, if we need to just set it up on our own, that's probably a discussion we have to have with Tim.
I think that the biggest concern would be inappropriate comments on the posts. So my first thought was, any business that puts up a post now has taken on the responsibility of monitoring the comments made to that post.
Well, that's why it needs to be a separate thing from the town.
Right.
You're gonna get inappropriate comments.
Yeah.
Well,
but
I
it's
guess
an
nothing's
advertising informational-
stopping, for lack of a better term, the merchant group to set up the Shop Grafton page
Right.
and do it on their own, right?
Right,
There's
but
nothing
if-
Well,
stopping
but if
them.
no,
John-
that's the issue, is initially we were going to have one of the business owners maintain the Facebook.
Right.
Okay.
That's what Carl's
But-
saying.
But then the concern was, because the town owns the website, the town should also be the administrator of that Facebook page as opposed to a business owner.
And I disagree that,
And
the website is totally separate from the Facebook page.
yes and no, they're two totally separate things, but they're interconnected simply by the name. Put it this way. I'm all for exploring the logistics of how we can make this work.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe you have multiple administrators. I don't know how it works. I know for my business, and I'm going to disclose this, for my business, I have a Facebook page, but because I don't have a personal Facebook, Facebook wouldn't let me have a business Facebook page. So I actually have an administrator that controls my Facebook, but I can do postings to it.
Right.
So that tells me that there's some flexibility. I just need to figure out what works.
I think there's gonna wanna be separation from the town versus the merchants, but we can have that discussion. Maybe that's something we talk about on the 22nd.
Yeah, well, we could talk about that on 22nd. I think that's something that internally, I'm talking with Joe and talking with Tim
Okay.
and Becca to figure out, hey, here's what we think, and probably even including Jen from the Recreation Department, because somehow we've incorporated some of her programs into the Sharp Grafton campaign.
Yeah, I just don't want censorship.
I guess-
don't think there should be censorship on it, and it's an extra task for you to do that I don't think it's a good use of your time to be administrating social media.
I guess
feed.
I'm at a loss to, there are two separate things here. You have the town website, okay? And they're gonna be promoting Shop Grafton via the website in the town. They should have full control of that. Done. Second piece is that you have someone willing to help promote Shop Grafton via the business route, okay? Via the business merchants,
Right.
the quasi group, like Friends of Grafton, those who want to complain about Grafton, all these different groups that are out there, right?
Right.
What's different than the merchant group saying they want to have their own Facebook page to say they want to promote Shop Grafton in their way?
Do we just have to call it a different name? I mean, is that the question?
Right, that's what I'm saying,
Right.
but I guess what I'm saying is, to Morgan's point, I don't think the town, nor you or anybody else within the administration would wanna, you've done your job by having it on the website.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But you just brought up, I think, an important point, because right up until then, I was running by the assumption that the Facebook page name would be Shop Grafton. And what I just heard, which is probably the crux of it, is it probably can't be. It might have to be Merchants of Grafton, Grafton Merchants, whatever you come
Right.
up
Shop,
with.
Yeah.
Grafton, Matt, like, well,
And then,
figure
right,
it out.
and
Yeah.
during those 3 months, the only thing anyone's gonna be talking about is the Shop Grafton, because that's gonna be the big
Right.
event.
Right.
I mean,
This
maybe
is
other
year-round
things too.
Facebook
Right.
page, right.
Well, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
And then, of course, during this critical time, that would be a real crux. But
Yeah.
so long as the name of the page isn't Shop Grafton, which
Right.
is kind of owned by the town,
Right.
that probably gets over whatever concerns they would have.
At this point, let's figure it offline.
Yeah.
People probably don't want to listen to the discussions, and I'm not the person making the decisions.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I guess we wanna have.
One-stop shopping for all the businesses in Grafton to be able to post stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand the concept, I like the concept. And I'm just saying, I'm not making the decision, let's
Right.
talk about it later.
Right.
Okay, all right,
All right.
yeah. Let's go to, let's see, Shop Grafton, we've got that. I'm gonna,
We just don't want real estate listings.
we got the Leatherhead approved. All right, so, do we wanna talk about review and discuss signed bylaws of other similar communities with gold? Or do you think that's gonna be a whole
Yes.
other meeting? You wanna talk about it now?
Yes.
Let's wait.
You wanna talk?
No.
I read it and I made some observations I'd like to.
Well, let me kind of, I'm sensing that you guys are tired, and I'm sensing that you guys want to get this over real quick. So I'll give you guys a summary.
Okay.
Okay.
Summary is that a decision needs to be made soon, so that way it could go before the town meeting and be posted and everything in a timely fashion. We're not going to be able to get the wording for temporary signs. When I did a review of all the different towns, there's really no real consensus, or it's not being handled very well. So the question is about the lighting what we're gonna have to do is either agree to what's acceptable for lighting. The fact that the lighting goes off at a particular time, 30 minutes after business closes, just is not feasible. So what we'll have to do is figure out, does it get shut off at midnight, or do we keep it on 24 hours a day?
Why is 30 minutes after closing not feasible?
The town of Hudson,
Because you can have a business inside a plaza
Yeah,
that closes at 6 o'clock, say like a breakfast place or a donut shop, and then you may have something that doesn't close at all, say like Bank of America at Koopman's Plaza.
Right.
A
So you have the
BTM.
one thing
Okay.
on the pylon lit where all the other ones aren't. And it's like, I feel like somehow we got into the minutia
The
of
weeds, yeah,
things that's so far beyond belief. Nobody's really dealt with it. We've looked at other towns, they haven't. We have an intern, Adidas, who's actually researching a number of towns and he's not finding anything to really provide us any guidance.
Hudson has no illumination restriction time at all. Signs can be on, there's no restriction in Hudson on illumination of signs.
Right,
And in Millbury, there's actually a temporary sign bylaw that says that they can do special promotion, events, and grand opening signs allowed for 90 days in a calendar year. So it's certainly much better than what we have.
I like the,
Business friendly, I should say. It's certainly much more business friendly than what we have. 90 days is certainly a good length of time for a promotion.
Is there a summary then that's been put together, or
there's,
is it in the package? You gave it out?
Yeah, right here. There's lighting and then there's temporary
Sorry.
signs.
That's right, I already read this, that's right, okay,
you
I'm
could have a
sorry.
client, you still have to
Yeah.
have a permit though.
And I actually read through all of it.
my gut feel is that,
Not just this, I read the whole bylaw.
my gut feel is that it's either going to be that the signs are either turned off at midnight, or that they'll be allowed to be on all the time in the business district. Outside the business district, we're not going to address, but within the business district, if you have Fitz's Car Wash facing Koopman's Plaza, midnight, 24 hours, it doesn't really matter. It's just figuring out what makes sense and trying to come up with a solution. Temporary signs, sorry.
Listen, whatever is best for our business community is what I'm gonna vote for. Within reason and being able to convincing the town of Grafton to go along with it, but, I think, the restrictions that we have on business people's signs was one of the precipitous of getting this whole thing started. And, I think having to shut your lights off at 10 o'clock at night is absolutely ridiculous. Especially in this day and age. I mean, back in the 1950s, when I was a kid, probably, the only light you had on was, I don't even know if we had lighted signs
police.
back in the 50s. Unless they were
police
lit by a
station.
candle, I don't know.
The red
But-
light, oh, sorry.
But I mean, no, really, I mean, in this day and age, I mean, I realize some people don't like light pollution and all the rest of that stuff, but, businesses have a right to advertise their business, and
I agree.
I just thought it was interesting that we had something like 32 pages of sign regulations, and Westboro got the job done in about 12.
yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
And that was as far into the weeds as I was able to get on this one.
yeah, well, try reading all of them.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance, I admit it. I got as far as Westboro.
Yeah, no, bottom line is, based on what we propose for the planning board and town meeting will be better than what we have now. I just don't know exactly where we're going to land.
Okay. Are you drafting that up for,
What's our drop dead date?
October meeting?
or you gotta go in front of the planning board and the selectmen first,
Right.
so.
Well, if the planning board approves it, what do we have, why do we have to go to the town meeting?
Town meeting gets the final vote, and things that don't have the
Zoning
planning
bylaw.
board has always failed.
It's a zoning
Right, so we
bylaw
wanna-
change, so it's gotta
Do you
go.
have to go to the selectmen
So,
first? or
so
the
what
planning
we're
board?
looking to do is to get their support and build consensus.
Right.
Well, the selectmen are the ones that put it on the warrant,
Okay.
put the warrant on
So
town.
you go to the
meeting.
planning board first, and if they're okay with it, then we move it
Right.
forward.
Right.
Okay. So John, when do you have to have a draft of it to us to like,
This is your draft.
This is the draft right here.
oh, am I missing something?
Yeah,
I told you verbally.
All right, so,
Cute.
so the light, this is the summary of the other towns.
The other towns,
Yes.
yeah.
So, I guess what Morgan's, I guess, and let me, I don't wanna speak for you, Morgan, but
No,
I
go
think
ahead.
what we're saying is that what is the consensus within this group on what we wanna propose? Is that what you're looking at? Is that what you wanna do?
I think the consensus is we want it 24 hours a day. I
Okay.
think it's just getting a sense of, is the planning board and selectmen going to buy into it?
Okay, well, I guess, would
Okay.
everybody agree with that, that within the business
Within the business
district,
district.
Yes.
that the signs could be on 24 hours a day?
Let me ask you, so can't a
Yes.
multiple member body put a warrant, put an article on the town warrant?
But was the question,
I mean, if
Was
the
the
selectmen
concern
don't
that
wanna
was brought
back us
up an internally lit sign put in the window? Was that what the original complaint was, or was it the
No.
external lights that were on?
External lights.
External lights that were on past closing of business.
Okay, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with what you've suggested, that in the business district, you should be able to have your lights on
And
24
as
hours.
an example, Homefield Bank is open 24/7. They have an ATM.
Right. Two.
Two ATMs.
Ooh,
So,
Yeah.
Busiest ATM in the town.
it is.
I always go to the drive-through.
That's the busiest one.
You count that as an ATM? No, I physically put the thing in the thing and you.
Oh.
Oh, you do? You
Yeah,
gotta
but
keep the
Yeah,
girls
go to
yeah,
the-
busy.
drive-up ATM. Anyways, long story short is that,
Yeah.
so the consensus
Well, then there
within
was the-
this group, and I
okay.
think our town business people would agree with this, that we propose to the selectmen and the planning board that we allow in the business district that the lights of the businesses be on 24 hours a day. Would that be a fair
Yes.
statement?
Yes.
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 Okay. Second thing, do we want to address the various colors of the lighting?
No.
Or we want to let them have their own multiple colors and signs?
There was no complaint about that, right?
Yes, there was.
Oh, there was,
Yeah, there
about
was.
colors?
Yes.
It was that sign on Grafton Street they were referring to.
Well, we're
The one
on,
by the new,
No. no, Koopman was complaining because they're restricted to 3 colors.
Two.
2 colors, sorry, 2 colors.
And we
And they need
said,
5
and that's,
in order to,
there should be no restriction on colors.
yeah. that's-
Right.
That's my point.
Okay,
exactly.
no
We
color
want to do that one.
restriction.
No restriction on colors
Yeah.
What
in the
about,
business district,
right,
Yes.
Yeah,
okay?
yep,
And then the last one, we're going to tackle temporary signs?
No,
No?
no?
unless you could find a way to summarize that quickly.
So there was no concern about,
I
so
just
people that
summarized
have
it. I just
portable
read it.
signs out all over town right now, we're just gonna let it,
Yeah, what's the,
What's that?
I just,
portable signs, temporary signs,
Temporary, such as the table tent looking things.
right.
the town of Millbury says it
sandwich
very
boards.
succinctly.
What?
Temporary sign for special promotion, event, and grand opening are allowed for 90 days in a calendar year for each business
Or where?
in Millbury.
Okay, well, I think that's, so right now there are a
That's
bunch
too
of
restrictive.
businesses, yeah, I think that's too restrictive.
yeah. You can have a shop that wants to put out a sign every single weekend. You know what I mean? Come on in or something.
90 days within a calendar year.
It's not enough.
Put it out every weekend.
Okay,
That's
so
not
there's-
on a
Or,
weekend.
well, I'm
Right.
still,
So there's businesses now that have sandwich boards out that say
lunch
a
special.
band is
or-
coming, or a lunch special,
Yeah.
or there's a
Special
band.
event, yeah.
That's not
Mikey Bailey,
allowed
though?
right now.
It's not allowed right
It's
now,
not
but it should be.
allowed.
It should
Correct.
be allowed, yeah.
So how do we say that?
No restrictions on
Said
it.
it.
Why restriction? I don't understand
Okay.
what the offense is about that kind of temporary sign.
Well, this is where it got back to the Koopman's Plaza, and they were afraid there were gonna be like 10 sandwich boards on the sidewalk down Worcester Street. So that's where it got
Yeah, but
shut down.
would that be so bad? I mean, they put them
Well-
on in the morning, take them home, take it out.
Well, look, signs shall be limited to 1 sign per storefront. I think,
Yeah, there's
I feel
another-
like that's a good
Yeah.
Because they're
verbiage.
kind of set back off the road. I don't know
Right,
if those,
so
a
if
lot of
you're-
those businesses,
if
they're
you're-
kind of coming, it's kind of a revolving
If
door
you're
there.
Treasure's Thrift Store, you're back in the plaza. You're not gonna,
Right.
you can't put it, Koopman's could put one out at the street because they own the building. All the subtenants, I would say their signs should be in front of their storefronts and not on the main drag,
On the sidewalk?
on the side.
I will
Coopman's
say
could
this,
have
if the
one.
zoning officer were to enforce the current rules, he would have no time to do anything else.
Yeah,
Correct,
exactly.
but that's what we wanna prevent, so that
Exactly,
some,
and that's
correct.
that's the reason why we need to relax that temporary sign bylaw, somehow.
And some temporary or sandwich boards under, do you call it a temporary sign? Is it a portable sign?
Oh, do they need a permit, really?
Well,
Good lord, another one?
I would say
right.
you shouldn't
Let's
have to have a
not-
permit
what do
for
you
a
mean- No, not a permit
sandwich
for a tent
board.
sign, no, that's gotta go away. Well, I know Millbury has it, but that, it's not, I mean, oh, that's, no,
Well, you
it's
have-
too
you have
restrictive, too much
restrictions.
government.
You have how big is a typical sandwich board? You put
Well,
the
what-
dimensions.
it's based on what town you're in, could be 100 square feet in area, 64 square feet.
That's massive. What are the little ones, you know,
Is
the,
that
All
counting both
signs.
sides together?
Right.
64, like,
No.
32 and 32?
It is good size, but, I guess I'm with Dennis on the idea that, I like the idea of Millbury. They seem to have a very business-friendly scenario. It's just a matter of, if we don't set the number of days, I think it would be,
A permanent sign.
Yeah.
that's the problem. And I don't think we want a permanent sandwich board scenario. At least I don't think so, but I don't wanna speak for
then
everyone.
You
he's
already
gonna
have it.
have, we already, it's right now.
You basically
So-
already
Well,
have.
that's not being enforced.
All right.
I wish we'd started with
Right,
this one.
but it could be, and it's not business
But
friendly.
if we,
Well, put it this way, stop going for the gold. If we could get it where temporary signs are allowed for 90 days, that during the year, that's an improvement over what we have.
yes,
And that will give you
Who's
a
gonna
chance.
count them?
exactly.
You gotta go get a permit.
No, we
Okay.
nix the permit piece, right? You nix the piece where they have to get a permit for it, because we already, you have them out there already, and as Dennis said, the enforcement officer would spend his entire day permitting or taking down signs.
Well, I can understand why the enforcement officer wants a permit, so that if something happens with the sign, he knows who to go to.
Well, that, and they have the right to say no.
Well,
Right, let's not,
So special promotion, I guess that's got
But it's not
an
like
event and a grand opening.
it's not like a parking meter where you
Yeah, what
know
is your
how
special-
long the sign's been there, you know?
Right,
well, that's
Why?
true,
that's a tricky
that
one.
is true.
So,
And if they take it in on weekends, you gotta stop the
so, all right,
clock.
so
Well,
to bring this to a
I-
closing, as John said, let's get something, all right? And if we, first thing, we take away the restrictions on the temporary signs, and that stops our enforcement officer from not enforcing the law. He's,
I really like the verbiage on, under Millbury on that last page.
Yeah.
right, I agree
That's
with
what I
that.
was saying.
Yeah, but take out number 4.
yeah, take out number 4.
Yep,
Without number 4.
Without number 4.
Sixty-four square
Right.
feet,
special promotion, it's
I
very
mean-
subjective, so.
it's 8 by 8, that's big.
When's that
And then
expiration?
if you-
Yeah, but notice that says the aggregate area of all such signs.
Right.
Well, you should only have one, so that's really,
But,
Weird.
okay, so, but then, now you come into the thing about, with Coopman Plaza, if
Every
retail-
business,
Right.
a retail plaza has multiple stores and every store put a sign out, well, then, the owner of the plaza is covered in the, by that,
because they all get one per storefront.
exactly.
The
So-
aggregate
And what
area
I'm
of all-
seeing here is, for example, if there were 8 shops in Coopman's, each one could have a maximum of 8 square feet, so that the maximum would be 64 square feet.
But it's not, it's 4 by 4.
Get rid of that
So
sign.
64 square feet,
How big is that?
the aggregate area of 64 square feet, if it's a two-sided sign, that's 4 by 4.
4 times 4,
Am I right?
16.
Yes, you
I
are.
think so, yeah.
So
8
that's
by
not
8.
that big.
It's a 4 by 4 sign.
If 4 by 4 is 16, and then if you have
Right.
2 sides, that would be 32. So 2 of those makes
So you're
64.
right,
Okay.
eight-
So I could
Eight.
get,
eight.
8 on both sides,
eight.
right.
Yeah.
But you can only have one sign per storefront, so how does that work?
Well,
Oh, 4x4 or an 8x8? Well, no, that doesn't work.
well, two things. One is
not gonna
the
see
temporary
it.
signs is, one temporary sign where you may try and have two, like Morgan, you would want to have your flag or open sign, and then you do the A-frame. Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's
two.
an aggregate, it's an
as opposed
aggregate
to one.
of 64
Okay.
square feet. So all of your signs combined,
Is that enough?
well, that's why I think the town of Shrewsbury has 100.
Let's do 100. Well, because if it's a flag and it's
That
up, it's
sounds
not.
huge.
But
Yeah.
it's
Sounds
but
too
right,
big.
No,
Square
no,
feet of
no one can have
sign.
one,
I think-
a 10-foot by 10-foot sign,
No,
temporary sign.
I think
That's a permanent
64 is
sign.
reasonable,
Yeah.
I-
because bigger businesses, I don't think need.
Well,
No, and they don't
When you
do,
think about who's in
I-
town, in Homefield, they have you have
You're-
I
your
think
electronic board.
generally, from my perspective, is it has to be proportional. If you say you're 100 square foot signs, but yet you're a convenience store, that's an overwhelming sign. But if it's a 100-foot sign and you say it's Shaw's, proportionally, it seems like it makes sense. Conversely, like a, I don't know, a 32 square foot sign wouldn't make sense for Shaw's, but it makes sense for a convenience store. So
Makes,
there should be some correlation between the size of the store and the size of the sign.
But who wants to be
no,
measuring
because
that?
it's all has to do with the visual, how
Before
you're
we
gonna
get-
see it.
before we
You
get
have
to-
to step back 30 feet. You're pulling into, let's say that one, the plaza there at Koopman's, if it's only say a small 4-foot by 4-foot sign, you're not really, you may not see it. If the storefront at the end, versus if it's a larger one, you know what I'm
But
saying?
they have a flashing sign, like they.
No, if it's a temporary sign, I'm saying.
All right,
Is
can
that
we
more to
talk
do with how to
about
look
this
at it, see it?
just like, let's elevate it up another level, okay? This has to be endorsed or approved by the planning,
yeah,
right? And the town of selectmen put it on the warrant,
right.
okay? And then the town has to vote for it, okay?
Okay.
So if we go for, the gold, to quote John, and we get shot down, what are we doing? We're wasting our time here.
Right.
All right, so let's be a little bit more structured on what we're thinking here.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
This
So
is
I
gonna
think,
be-
I
this
think
is a
our
very
lighting,
long-
No, I think we reference Millbury because that's a neighboring town.
right,
I think we keep number one per storefront. 64 square feet sounds reasonable.
yep,
It's the same as Millbury. Keep number 3, can't be internally illuminated. And get rid of number 4 with having
yeah, I
to have
think
a
number
permit.
4 is important.
Ugh.
I do
It's
too.
just.
So it's a one-time permit, really?
Do we, seriously, why do we
It's
need
one
it?
time,
But still.
because it allows some control that the building department,
It allows some type of control.
some type of control.
And
It's one
records,
time.
in other words, how do you
Right.
prove whether
Let's put
somebody
it this
had it
way,
up?
John, I don't
every
think they're
weekend,
gonna
every other
allow
weekend?
something to be done without some type of control.
Okay, so
Does it have to be him?
in that case, all right,
Seriously, town clerk, I'm not kidding.
No, but other people in the
Seriously.
office can
But-
approve, I mean,
right.
it's, yeah.
let's put it, instead of that, if you put a time limit on it, so let's say,
No limits,
Right.
sorry.
wait, hold on one second, just, all right. Look at the plaza down below me, with the new Verizon store, the new,
Right,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So you have that grass area out in front,
Yeah.
okay? If someone plunks a sign out there, and the grass is growing around it, you know it's been there a while. So if you had a thing here saying 30 days, or whatever you want, however you want to say it, okay? That would be, the enforcement officer or someone could complain and say, that sign's been there forever. You simply drive out there and say, yep, grass is growing all around it, so evidently it's been there a long
That's-
time.
That's not the, so in
But
that plaza.
but see, by putting a
that's
time
not
on,
That's not the, that's the property owner is not maintaining the grass strip.
but no,
And that temporary
Well-
sign,
I'm trying to find a way to give some control, as you say, to the enforcement officer,
Yep.
without putting the stamp on it. Because,
well, you're getting your stamp if you go to get a permit for that sign, and it's gonna say something like gift shop, and it's a sandwich board.
but you're gonna walk,
You get approval for it.
He's gonna want a drawing, he's gonna want.
wait,
That's
well,
okay, that's okay.
Find a way.
let's, all right, let's face it this,
And then
look
you
at it
can't
this
leave,
way.
if it,
We're talking about the small businesses. 'Cause
Right.
the people like Shaw's, Stop and Shop
Right.
and whatever, they're not gonna do this stuff. We're looking to help the small businesses And by adding one more
I don't,
thing to them,
you think
Yeah,
small
it-
businesses
it-
wanna
it-
go to the
it's-
building department every 30 days?
No.
to get-
He's the
No.
one that doesn't want the permit, right?
I do not want.
I don't want a permit either.
Oh, but I don't think it's gonna pass town
Right,
without a
So-
permit.
so
It's
we're
a
just-
one-time permit.
we're pulling on Superman's
Well,
cape
we,
here.
we aren't saying it's a one-time permit. We're trying to figure it out. That's
Well, I think we
unanswered
got rid of the
questions.
requirement, back when we were looking at this, that
All right,
sign,
maybe a
you
permit,
get
but
a,
no fee then.
there was one, we got rid of some language in there that made you did one-time permit, and then you remember it was every year you're supposed to renew it? And I thought we struck some language
Okay,
out of
let
there.
me-
That was
That's
when
all
we were
gone?
totally in the weeds.
Right,
We've got
okay.
2 pages here that we're trying to, the 2 big issues that we're
Okay,
trying
so
to
let's have,
resolve.
you have an annual permit.
All right, let's look, let me throw one more thing out there. We come up with a draft. As you said, this has to go through layers. We get our draft on the agenda of the planning board. We're not asking them to approve it, we're just asking them to review it
What's
and
your-
get someone else's opinion or whatever on
But we
this.
need to reach a consensus, what we
Well-
think is fair.
Here's something that's really an open question, and I don't know the answer, but if we propose something, it goes to the planning board,
Mhm.
and then it goes to the selectmen, is there anything on either board or both boards that would prevent them from changing the wording?
No.
I don't know.
Or adding or eliminating.
So,
And,
but with that said, if they are uncomfortable with it,
right,
and they need to think about it,
Then we're
they're going
wasting
to
our time.
table it,
Right,
and nothing will be done.
exactly.
So that
Okay.
means you want to be conservative enough
Mm-hmm.
where even if they're uncomfortable with it,
right.
they're not going to stop it.
A
Right,
la the
okay.
24-hour scenario. I guess we're looking for little victories
Right,
versus a total nuclear
Right.
yeah, I
strike.
So if
agree.
you have to go get one permit,
All right,
a permit,
And you gotta have time restrictions on a temporary sign, otherwise it's permanent,
Right.
but it's same,
right?
Who designs that permit? What are the requirements for it? Is there a fee?
Well,
Is it 30 days?
okay,
I'm
so
talking
then you're
about-
eliminating
no, I'm-
half of the ability, so if you have something that says,
No, but I'm saying, if you say you can put a temporary sign out permanently, it's a permanent sign.
well, then that's a
You
whole,
can't- It's
No,
a whole
I
new-
agree with them.
Yeah, it's a
Standards
whole new
board
ball
is
of wax.
temporary
Portable.
advertising.
No, it's portable,
It's portable,
Portable,
but we're
yeah.
under temporary
but it's
sign.
permanent.
Say portable, yeah.
well,
If
can
you're
we take
permanent,
away,
You're putting it out every day, it's permanent, it's
Can we-
portable, but it's
can we
permanent.
take away the word temporary and just,
No, they
say
have portable
portable.
signs here.
Right.
let's
Yes.
call it portable signs?
So
Get a
instead of
permit for-
90 days, why don't we go 180?
A permit for a
6
portable
months?
sign.
I think that would be perceived as too aggressive.
Okay.
It's like, the reason I think 90 makes sense
Summer.
is it corresponds with what's in the building code, Massachusetts Building Code. Their definition is 90 days.
Okay,
So that's why I think that makes sense.
I like that.
I think,
Then he's gonna have to, he's got a lot of enforcing that he'll have to do.
well,
And he will.
Well, yes and no,
my-
yes and no.
Hopefully.
My-
he won't,
my
but he-
goal-
he Finds a way to,
But,
my goal is to make it so it's better for the business owners.
I agree.
My
Yeah.
goal is to make it so it works for the building commissioner, Bob, who enforces rules. He does a great job. He may not
John,
be welcome news to people, but I can't say he doesn't do his job.
right,
And I support him.
What-
I feel that when we come up with this, we need to say what works for this year. Even if we come back for the following town meeting and ask for another revision, let's go for
okay.
the easy
See, they don't have a,
score.
Easy wins. Yeah,
they don't
easy
have a
wins.
time in Millbury. You've gotta get a permit, but it doesn't say how long the permit's good for.
Well,
90
he-
days.
here's the
Where do you see
concept.
that?
Here's,
It's in my notes, I
It's
read it
not-
in the full,
okay.
I read it in the full bylaw, I don't know why it's not
Oh,
on
it's
here.
not here, okay.
Okay.
here's the concept, right? If it's a temporary sign, it isn't the same sign day after day. So
It's a,
we're going to be given the building enforcement officer discretion. If it's a restaurant that's basically the same sign day after day, and the only thing you're doing is changing your specials, he makes the decision. If it's somebody promoting necklaces one day and bracelets another day and music
Still not
boxes another
allowed,
day.
And the restaurant wouldn't be allowed.
Right.
Yeah, it's,
None of those.
Again, we need to go for something easy. Go for 90 days. The following town meeting is six months after that. By then, you have a chance to revise it again.
Or you just put them out and hope to not get enforced upon. I mean, that's what's gonna
yeah,
happen.
and do we need one more roadblock? I hear it all the time. I deal with it weekly where people say, I got a builder, a business person looking for land, let's say, or a business opportunity, or whatever it might be, but not in Grafton because ... That's all I'm saying. And so let's, yes, it has to be enforced. We can't have a free-for-all, and we don't look to look awful, but it's gotta be find a way to, I don't know,
Well, let's
frame it so
So
that
what
it's
section
inviting
parts? Right.
and easier and logical, and not so that, I know, we gotta frame it just right so that, it can't, because if there's too much discretion, that's the problem. If he has too much discretion over what's allowed and what's
Well,
not, and everyone has to go talk to him, yeah, everyone's afraid to say the obvious, but it's,
I feel like if you
Go
keep the three of these, those components, the sign is limited to one, okay, so if you violate that, then there's an opportunity to be enforced against. The size, again, there's something to fall back on, and then not internally illuminated.
Yeah.
The thing that we're getting caught up is if we have a permit or not,
Mhm.
and the length of time
Right.
for
Right.
that permit.
Mhm.
So maybe those are things that we can bring to the planning board that they can discuss, and that they would be comfortable making a decision to say, okay, well, these sound reasonable, yes, you do have to have a permit, because, there's some revenue, and they can assign a time that they're comfortable with and get into the debate or not. They're gonna debate it anyway. So,
I think we should at least lead with something.
Right, in other words, where
you know
would
what,
we like
actually,
them to
yeah,
end
the
up?
more I think about it, it's gonna get to town vote anyway, and townspeople will stand up and they'll be able to say what they wanna say.
right, but
Let the town people speak, and if they're okay with it, if they wanna stick it up and say,
to be business
I
friendly,
want this, or I
think,
don't want
yeah.
that, or I have had trouble with such and such, it'll open up, which is, God bless them, they have a right to do that. So
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah,
Well, we have to have proposed wording, even if they change
Yeah.
it, we have
Well,
to
we-
Right,
word it.
That's my point.
And the other thing, when you talk about the selectmen, for example, they have
Annual permit.
legal counsel that,
But I think the point, John, and John, forgive me
Yes.
for cutting in here,
Yes,
is
go
that
ahead.
I don't think there's ever been something that's approved by the town vote at the town meeting that hasn't been endorsed by the planning commission,
Yeah.
and hasn't been endorsed by the town of selectmen.
Right.
So if we don't win those two,
right,
it's dead on arrival.
yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Even if we win those, it's
Yeah.
not guaranteed.
Well, it's not,
That would
but we have a
certainly
better
help.
shot.
That
Right.
certainly helps.
Let's say
Yeah.
that there is an annual permit,
Okay,
and
yeah,
that a portable sign is not, it is a permanent sign, but you're gonna be following these guidelines, specifically for portable signs, a size requirement and not illuminating, that's,
are we taking out the word temporary sign?
yes.
I say we
It is
take
a
out the word
portable
temporary
sign.
and call it portable. Portable sign with the.
I thought we had, there's something in the bylaw already for portable signs.
Yeah, we're trying to work on it.
Not, it's
Well-
too restrictive, it's,
And it's pages and pages and pages.
Portable signs?
Yeah.
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 I know it is. What do you?
but this is, you can have a portable sign if you meet the size requirements, and you have to get a permit once a year, so that he can check it.
Right, but if you wanna advertise
And it's a
something.
sandwich board, like there's certain,
But if you wanna advertise something on a temporary basis, you can't do it unless you have temporary sign bylaw.
right, and what we're saying is that we're gonna,
Hmm.
in the glossary, under the definition, a portable sign is gonna have its own thing.
Well, we have to go back to the town's guidelines, because we're looking at Millbury's now.
Right, whatever temporary sign,
Yeah, I don't have the,
All
I
right,
don't have
so-
the town bylaw with me.
I don't know.
I think this horse is dead for the time being.
yeah, let's just started
This,
with this,
but this
actually.
one is, I think, is more important to the smaller businesses than the
Yeah, they're
bigger
all-
ones with the light issues.
So when are we meeting, what's the date in September we're meeting again? Can we formulate something by that point in time for the October meeting? Or do we have another, or do we have
I
another one
don't think
between
we-
now and
I don't
then?
think we have
We
enough
can't.
time to do that, just based on the
We
natural
started
flow
with
of
this,
everything.
actually, but.
What if, all right, let's back up a little bit. So here we have Grafton's bylaw. Temporary portable
Where are
signs,
you? 'Cause I've got mine too.
4.4.2.3, page 9.
Yeah, I don't have it with me, sorry.
All right,
Read it to us.
all right. Except as specifically permitted by this bylaw or otherwise exempted by the provisions of the United States Constitution, Article 16, Massachusetts Constitution, all temporary and portable signs are prohibited in the town of Grafton. Temporary signs and portable signs printed under this bylaw shall be displayed no earlier than 30 days and no later than 7 days after the event. Such, for which such sign is intended to address. Such
That's for
signs.
the nonprofit organizations.
Right.
Oh, did I?
No, this one's for everything.
I thought it was for everything.
It is.
Temporary portable signs shall be permitted. Shall be permitted.
No, they're given an exemption somewhere else.
Yeah.
The charitable ones have an exemption
So-
that appears somewhere else in here.
If this is already here,
Yeah, because it says the following provisions are applicable to all signs in all districts.
then what do we,
Just clarifying that, I know what Dennis is referring to, but that's something separate. Somewhere else it says charitable events are given an exception. So what John just read is
political signs.
applicable to everybody. Also given a specific,
Yeah, okay.
so if this is already here,
Right, but doesn't allow anything.
it basically says everything's prohibited.
Right,
yeah.
right. We want to relax that. So, it got killed a few years ago, so we have no ability to have portable signs right now. So why don't we just grab something that already exists and say, let's try? The worst they can say is no, and then we stay status quo, and then,
Well,
Bob has to enforce things when there's a complaint,
why, go,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Why are temporary signs not allowed, what's the problem with them? I'm just wondering.
Pollution, sign pollution, I don't know.
No,
That-
but I mean,
well,
what's the?
I think it's the aesthetics, potentially. The problem when you're writing a sign bylaw is you're trying to, you're basically working on the aesthetics of town, of how you want things to look. And the problem is in different things, in different sections of town, it's differently. The A-frame signs, we talked about 10 A-frame signs in front of Koopman's Plaza.
That's
Where
they
if you're
let us
up by the common, there's a lot more space. So you need a,
Is that the sidewalk in front of the windows, or was it on Worcester Street?
That's what they're afraid, they're all gonna be out on Worcester Street.
Well,
mucking
I
the
think-
aesthetics.
I think, and don't quote me, but I think you can't put it on the sidewalk because that interferes with people's access,
Right.
especially
Can't
with
use-
ADA
Yeah, I would agree
and
with that.
everything.
You can't
100%.
use them at all, that's the point right now.
What's that?
You can't put signs out at all right now.
Right,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I was addressing why you can't put a sign on a sidewalk,
I don't think there's,
in general.
yeah, but the
Well, that makes
fear
sense.
was if everybody is allowed, then they're gonna put them
Be
all
a free for
out,
all?
all the way down the street. And that, you know, so therefore none are allowed right now. But if we have a mechanism for enforcement by having a certain size and not being illuminated, I think that's something to
So
move
you're saying
forward with.
portable temporary signs should be allowed, is what you're saying? is
Yes.
to Take the restriction completely off.
Yep.
Yep.
In these
Yes.
instances where you have the one per storefront, and that size and not being illuminated and will be an annual permit.
Soon as you say, take the restriction off of one per storefront, that just means that Koopman's issue comes up and those boards will shoot you down.
Okay, but
Like saying one per storefront.
Right, but if you have 10 in Coopman's Plaza, that's 10.
But you don't, you
things.
only
In the,
have four
in front of the
them. You don't have 10.
storefront, it's not on the right of way, it's not on the sidewalk, it's not in the street.
Can I have let's have a big picture discussion. What's the purpose of a sign?
It's
Communicate.
our business.
It's to communicate.
To communicate what?
An event,
Whatever message.
What is available?
a sale,
Okay,
Product.
so, all right, so let's follow this through. So now, that means if you're displaying a sign, people have to be going at a pace that's slow enough for them to read the sign. So if we were on 140, 122, chances are you're driving too fast to read an A-frame sign. It's probably too small and you're not really reading it, so it's just kind of sign pollution
Right.
for it.
I don't know.
I don't agree with that.
No, I don't either. So continue, what's your
You see the word
point?
sale in big red.
Well, yeah.
That's what's gonna pull you in. It's not
Open
gonna be
house,
it's not gonna be, 420 years ago, blah, blah,
free
blah.
coffee.
Right,
Right.
but what we need to do is figure out how somebody can convey in a relatively small space what they're trying, a sale that you're gonna go, I don't know what the speed limit is, 30 miles an hour, 35, whatever it is. So other than saying sale, what else are you really able to convey in
can-
that
To,
short of a time?
to a degree, I'll disagree with you because of
Okay.
going back to my business days, when we did put today's lunch, beef stew, American chop suey, people could see that and would stop.
Right.
And it was only this big.
Right, were you near a stop sign?
We were right on 122,
Yeah.
Were you,
right, right just at the
This is
intersection of
Mass.
122 and Route 20, at that intersection. That plaza right
so,
there.
so people were able to see, and how big
Yeah.
were your letters?
About 4-inch letters.
I
What-
see it all the time, I remember
Yeah.
grabbing
What
Lance,
if you, okay, so here's a question, a 4x4 typical sandwich board,
Mm-hmm.
how many square feet is that?
16
16.
or 32 if
Or
you count both sides,
32.
yeah.
Why don't we change it to 32 square feet so that it can be easily explained to somebody that it's just an A-frame sign? It's not a ginormous
Yep.
beast thing that's out there. It's just a general A-frame.
But it's not 32, an A-frame is 64, because you got two boards.
No, you just said 4x4.
Not the two planes that are visible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
32 square feet is a,
Right.
32 visible
16
square
on each
feet,
side.
Yes.
maybe.
16 and 16.
Yeah.
Okay, so that I think that's something people can relate to. Oh, the sandwich board, okay, yeah, sure, an A-frame. We have nothing now, so why don't we just shoot for something?
or another thought, this is going a little different tact. The code officer did say, it's there, but I cannot enforce it because I simply don't have the time. So here's a law that he's not enforcing. If we want to do something to help these people, we go to meetings saying, we want to amend this to say, portable signs will be allowed. And that takes out that person breaking the law. It's almost like say you have
But there's
a,
no restriction on how big your portable sign can be.
well, no, put some stuff in there, but take out the piece that says they're not,
Right,
Right now,
right.
we have nothing.
We have nothing.
Right.
Portable signs are not allowed, right. So that's what I'm suggesting, is that we put some,
take out, they're not allowed.
correct,
We want to revise that.
yes.
And just slide in
Slide in
these,
Yep,
little
even
things
an
right
annual
here.
permit, so that,
and then as
There's some
John said,
control.
when it goes, when it goes past the planning board, when it goes past the selectmen, it gets to town meeting, if people at town meeting have a complaint, they will say it.
right,
My thought is that, we're kind of a policy board. We shouldn't be getting in the weeds on how to word this stuff. We should be saying to the code enforcement and to the planner, the town planner, this is what we want to see. Come
Okay.
up with the language.
no, we don't have time,
Well-
we're trying to,
But
trying to facilitate.
They expect us to write this.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
I
just
We're trying to
making,
facilitate things for,
You're
We're
not
trying to
writing
facilitate,
it, but
Writing
you're
it.
providing
We're
it
trying to
outline
make
what
it
you'd
happen.
like to see.
right.
trying to facilitate.
We wanna
this.
see portable signs allowed and temporary signs.
And we
right
are,
there.
we're
Okay.
almost there. And then
Okay.
John can take this,
And
and
as, right,
are you gonna present this to the planning board?
I think the two of us are.
Who is?
I think I will be there, but I think Carl will be the spokesman.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so, and I feel like this is pretty
adequate,
reasonable.
adequate.
You get one sign, it's
Right.
gotta conform to these things.
get our
You get
foot-
an annual permit from the building department. There we go.
You mean annual one or?
Annual, I
Annual.
want, just,
Go
you know,
Annual, right.
So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is what Dennis was saying earlier, just basically take the town of Millbury's sign bylaws pertaining to, special promotions and portable signs,
Mhm.
adapted and put Grafton on it?
but it doesn't have to be it's just
Yeah,
the
just
fact that you
just a
can have a
sign.
portable sign.
Yeah.
Get rid of the special promotion
Yeah.
event,
They don't want any time on it, they just wanna say.
no
they can have
time,
portable signs.
one annual
And
permit.
then having to decide what's an event, what's not,
Right.
what's
Yeah.
special, what's a
Blah, blah,
promotion.
blah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And as
So,
Dennis said.
so you're saying portable signs,
And other temporary displays to advertise special promotions event. So basically just take out special promotions, event, and grand opening signs. Right?
Special promotion
Portable
event,
signs
grand
and other
opening.
signs temporarily displayed to advertise shall be permitted for all business and industrial zones
so
subject to.
are we
Okay, wait.
are we going to include the
Hold on,
90 days or
Carl.
not?
Let's say,
I'd say
can we
no,
wait?
just, no.
No 90, no time
Call them
limit.
portable signs, don't even mention the word temporary.
I just use the word portable sign, cross off other signs,
Yeah,
cross off temporarily. So it says portable signs,
Were you on
To,
Millbury still?
displayed to advertise. To advertise,
portable
get
signs
rid of
to
all that other-
advertise,
to advertise. Get off,
Yes,
special
mhm.
permissions, cross it off, events and grand opening shall be permitted for all business and industrial zones, subject to the following requirements.
yeah,
You get a portable sign,
To advertise,
you can, nope, you don't even, just to advertise, and then it's allowed in the business and industrial zone, and you have to conform to these 4 things.
And then you go down to the next one, it says portable signs.
Get rid of that.
get rid of that, yeah.
We've got 3 different.
or do you
business
wanna
zones.
put annual, if you're gonna leave number 4 in there, are you going to put annual?
Neighborhood
permit,
business, you got
yep,
community business. you
Such
got,
signs require,
and then
But why- what's
cross
the-
off the whole bottom
Let's
paragraph
back up.
for the
What's the
next.
purpose of an annual permit? If it's not gonna change,
So that
it
there's
gives,
some control in the,
Yeah.
there's there's fee for revenue for the town, and there's a compliance mechanism, because they're gonna want some
right,
metrics.
right, the yeah,
Well,
people will,
And some
do
control,
any other towns ask for an annual permit?
well, they do, you have to get a permit or sign
A
it.
permit, not, is it an annual one though?
Well,
No, theirs is more restrictive, it's per sign.
Sure.
yeah.
right,
All right, so, does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
sure.
Everybody all right with that? So we're not, we're just going with 34.64B,
yes.
and not C.
Correct.
We're taking C out altogether.
Yep.
Right.
Now, do you wanna bring up, do you think you need to, down here for portable signs, it says no moving or flashing components?
Yes, yeah. I
It
think
says no such sign shall not be, yeah.
Well, shall
I
not
mean,
be internally illuminated.
maybe that would be good, so that
You're
people
right.
don't freak
Yeah,
out
just,
thinking you're gonna
just to
have.
make sure,
Yep.
you know, cause I do think we want that.
That's a good
not
idea.
saying
That's a good
no.
idea.
Yeah,
I like that.
None of those balloon flail.
yeah,
Right, yeah,
I hate those things. They smell
spinning
trees.
things.
I think they're awesome.
Now, do we need
I like
to,
that Grafton Street sign myself, but whatever, fireworks.
when we put this, ask to have this put in, do we need to say we wanna change
You meant
Grafton
amend.
No,
bylaw?
they'll do that.
That-
They'll-
that-
that-
That's the part they
Well,
do.
as he said,
Yeah.
that's their job, not
Yeah.
ours.
Correct.
Okay,
They'll know where, they should
Okay,
know where to
sure.
place it.
okay,
We'd like to propose the following,
yes,
okay?
I agree.
Excellent.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
All right, good job.
Getting
guys.
things done, John.
We're trying.
Motion to adjourn.
Finishing all before the-
what, you're not even done with your coffee yet?
It's all done
Well, we have to
hours
write
an
the
hour
minutes
ago.
first. But I know
There
we're
isn't any other
squeezed
business.
a lot. We have so many projects going on right now. It's just a lot to get done.
Do we have any other business that we wanna talk about? John?
On September 4th, from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., we're having a digital marketing seminar held at the Grafton Community Center. If people could email me if they wish to attend, that would be greatly appreciated.
September
Um,
4th?
We're limited based on the space and the community center, community barn, community barn.
Social
So it's
media
a first come,
marketing.
first served basis.
Yeah, I don't think they can have more than 100 people.
Excellent. You have me on that list, right? I would hope.
Yep, that's exactly it.
I'll sit in the kitchen.
What is that?
This is the
Digital
flyer.
marketing.
That is the ad that appeared in the Grafton newspaper, and
Yep.
that was delivered to every single house here in Grafton.
Oh, in that, in the Grafton
Wow.
News?
In the Grafton News, so I'm working to tell Grafton owners, it is going to be opened up to the chamber, and they have much more robust network of advertising than
Holy shit.
we do.
That pretty slick, huh?
Yeah,
Like that?
I like that.
Anything else?
Nope.
Any other business? Anybody else?
No?
Move we adjourn.
What did you say about the meeting? You want to adjourn?
Adjourn? Yeah.
Motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
Second.
All right, let's go.